Well, welcome back to the Tucks and Tomahawks podcast for like the eighth time this week. Hopefully, I can slow down and stop having to do this stuff. But apparently, people like throwing grenades in closed rooms in the state of Colorado. So, for the people who don't know me, I'm Adam Dorito. I'm the host of the Tucks and Tomahawks podcast. I am a paratrooper. I am a farmer and rancher and oil and gas worker in the state of Colorado. I have fought the federal government for over 15 years in military corruption and accountability, and won in federal court against the Air Force Academy, which is why I came out here from the East Coast. And someone suggested in D.C. that I get involved in local politics about a year ago and dip my toe into it, and I didn't realize how much worse it was than Washington, D.C. There's been a lot of interesting things going on. We had the President Trump's election. I mean, I got to go to the RNC, I got to go to the inauguration, and now we're in this weird position here in the state of Colorado where we're doing redistricting meetings. And for those who don't understand what that is there's various districts in each state. I'm in District 8, for example. Janet's in District 3. And it's our responsibility as local registered conservative Republicans to reelect new leadership every few years that represent our best values and what we want to do. So I went to my redistricting meeting last night. It was pretty hands-off, wasn't too intense, but some other things happened in CD4 last week where, you know, there was almost fistfights and yelling and screaming apparently, and things were going on, and there was controversies filed. I went to my own Weld County meeting where I ran for vice chairman, and a bunch of PCPs that were supposed to be submitted were not allowed to vote, so I never had a chance, and, you know, the vote was kind of rigged there too. I have plenty of comments about that. But I don't live in District 3. I don't know who Janet is. I have no idea what goes on down there because it's quite a far way from me. But there was a video posted by Carol Riggenbach last week, and I watched it, and it brought up a lot of concerns. And then I had more people reach out to me about what is going on in District 3. So, Janet, welcome to the Tucks and Tomahawks podcast. You are the last guest before the state election committee this weekend. So you're probably going to give some important perspective about what's going to be going on. And what the hell happened in CD3? What's going on down there? Who are the players? Who's involved? I mean, you're someone who has insider knowledge to this, and I really want to understand what's going on from a ground roots perspective.
Well, I was asked by Carol Rickenbaugh to be a poll watcher the day before the CD3 reorg, which was on March 15th at the Pueblo County Republican office on Main Street. I just expected to go in and watch and see what was going on. And I did. And I saw some very inconsistent things. I saw that there was supposed to be a secret ballot, and it wasn't. You could see the names who voted, not how they voted, because we weren't allowed, as poll watchers, weren't allowed to see that. There was many things that happened. There were votes being text to Michelle Gray on her phone, and nobody was able to see those votes. There were phone calls being made with I'm so-and-so's proxy, and we didn't know who the proxy was and how they were voting. There were scribbles on paper of writing numbers down, scratching them out. We were not allowed, me and there was two other poll watchers, and Michelle allowed us to go back and look at the computer a couple times, but there were most of the time she's like, you can't come back here and look at this. You can't. So we as poll watchers really no use as a poll watcher because we were not allowed to see what we should have been able to see. It was interesting.
And just from my perspective, like, I'm not an elected member. I'm just a constituent. I'm just a registered Republican in the state. And when you talk about certain things that you said you saw votes being put in on somebody's personal cell phone. Right. You saw personal computers being used to run a meeting.
Yes.
As an intelligence guy, you know, someone who works in operational security and intelligence, psychological operations, and as we most recently saw with even the exposure of the Signal text message thread with Pete Hegseth in the past couple of days here, that's not exactly what I would call secure communication, secure voting. And I think one thing that the state of Colorado and a lot of citizens here advocate for, especially with Jenna Griswold, is election integrity. That's the whole Dominion systems, argument. But we can't even secure our own elections within our counties, within our districts. What happened? Like, how did this even happen? I heard it was like a hybrid Zoom meeting. Like there was on the computer. It was in person. Like what? How did this even occur? How was this all set up?
I don't know how it was set up. I know there were a lot of connectivity issues. People couldn't get on and off. I knew that that the teller committee person was actually Michelle Gray, who is the Pueblo County chair, is also a voting member. I know that the vice chair of Pueblo County Republicans, Marla Reichert, was using her personal computer to do tabulations, and she's also a voting member. And then you have a candidate who was running for vice chair, Christy Fedora, who was using her own computer to do this. To me, that doesn't seem right. I don't.
What I saw in Weld County, they had to do another reorganization meeting, but they had state workers or whatever it was, like from the state, like volunteers come in and they ran the Zoom meeting on their computers. They were doing vote counting on computers that were not attached to anyone at the meeting in District 3. So what you're saying is that there were people who are running for elected office in District 3 that were using their personal computers to not only run the meeting, but to count votes. Is that correct?
That is true.
That
Michelle
doesn't seem right.
She was using her phone to do it. And then she'd look at Christy Fedora's computer and look at things. And there was just no way of proving those votes. And then there was a teller committee. I mean, the credentialing was off all night. They couldn't get the right one, and they finally came down to 119, and then they only had 109 votes. Michelle just said, I guess they decided not to vote, but she couldn't prove that one way or the other, and she didn't try to either. So
wait, so 100, and for anyone who doesn't know how some of these meetings work, there's something called Robert's Rules of Order. There's a whole process to credentialing people, checking your ID, verifying who it was. And if I remember correctly, there's another meeting several weeks ago where I believe it was actually Michelle Gray and Lauren Bober. Oh, it was the when the state chairman was trying to do the bylaw changes, right? And I remember I was watching that live stream on YouTube. I just wanted to see what was going on. And they made the argument during that Zoom meeting that they could not verify the votes and the credential for each individual. So therefore they had to end the meeting and they had to adjourn it because this wasn't being done in a proper process. So what you're saying is that this exact situation that these people brought to your meeting, we're now trying to run the same meeting with the ineffective way of credentialing and actually verifying who was at the meeting and who could actually vote.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes zero sense.
It makes zero sense. So I will tell you, just like a week after that meeting with the bylaws, and I didn't watch it. I watched the recording of it. I do try to pay attention to what's going on. And we went in for county reorg for Pueblo, and she did not take any of our IDs. She's one of the lady. I know who you are. I know who you are. But
that's not how that works.
No,
you have to verify.
Right. I went up to her. I said, no one took my ID. And she just looked at me, and she ran that meeting that meeting was very interesting too. It was like Christy Fedora basically got up and nominated the people she wanted for is it bonus member, and she has a group of people that hang out with her, just voted for them. It was very obvious what they were doing. It was a setup. I heard that there's another politician in the state that does that too, and they follow her lead. Michelle kept saying,
"Is that Barb? Is that Barb Kirkmeyer?"
Yeah, Barb Kirkmeyer. You're right.
Yeah, Barb Kirkmeyer does that in Weld County all the time. I mean, I've witnessed her numerous times. I watched them at the meeting where they tried to oust the current leadership in the middle of a presidential election. I watched her orchestrate that meeting in the background. I've watched her at numerous other county meetings just sitting in the back room. I watch her walk around with a pre-printed out piece of paper stating the people that they're going to vote for, and then she hands out this piece of paper to all the voting members and tells them, this is who you're going to vote for no matter who's on stage and who says what, which I don't really think that's an ethical or moral position to do that. I think if you're going to run for a position in office, you should be given an equal shot, an equal chance, and let the people who are voted, are responsible for voting, make that decision for themselves, not to be told what to do by a state senator. I think that's what we call in the military unlawful command influence. That is actually a
Right.
chargeable offense under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. And I would say that, as citizens, we are actually way more responsible to making sure that our elections for our elected officials are moral and ethical, so that way we have the best representation possible. And you're telling me that Barb Kirkmeyer was down in CD3 orchestrating the same type of operation?
Well, I'm not sure if Barb Kirkmeyer was on CD3. I'm just saying how Christy
and
got
who is
up
and just for everyone, who is Christy Fedora?
She is the Colorado or RNC committee person. I don't know exactly.
Oh, Christy Ruckus. Christy.
Ruckus. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Her
Okay. So
Fedora.
interesting. So wait. So the RNC committee chairwoman was running for an elected position in CD3, using her own personal computer and using personal cell phones to tally votes and orchestrate the meeting.
Her and Michelle Gray, yes, together.
I don't think that's allowed under any state statute or bylaw. I could be wrong. I'm not a lawyer, but I just don't think that that's allowed. I don't think that's possible.
Sorry about the dog. Yeah, I don't think it's right at all. And I just sat there. I didn't really say much. On the table was, on the other side of me was Christy Ruckus, Michelle Gray, and Marla Reichert. And I was sitting on the other side, and the other two poll watchers were walking around. And I sat there and I watched everything. I did not move. And I saw them changing things. I don't know why, because we were not allowed to see.
What were they changing? Do you know what they were changing?
The numbers kept changing back and forth, back and forth. I don't know where they were getting the numbers, what was going on. I know some of them were texts, some of them were phone calls, and then some of them were on the computer. And then Christy Ruckus was supposed to be recording the meeting, and it didn't get to the Colorado GOP has asked for that recording, and they still have not received it. But I will tell you an incident in the state assembly, or whatever they call it. She had somebody nominate one of the candidates that she was pushing for CD3. And the guy who nominated him said, "As a proud Democrat, I nominate this person." All of a sudden, I looked for that recording, and everybody else had a recording, and but him.
Wait, so a Democrat representative was nominating someone in the Republican Party during an organizational meeting?
Well, he used to be a Democrat, but he supposedly is a Republican. But then he got up there, and I don't know if it was an act. Probably was an accident, but that wasn't. That's he was introducing as a proud Democrat a congressional district candidate, and all of a sudden that recording was lost too. So it's like Christy Ruckus loses recordings like Hillary Clinton. I don't know. All of a sudden they're gone. There's no proof.
I think you're actually you legally have to record these meetings and make them public available information. I don't think you're allowed to lose recordings or anything like that. I think that's actually like a chargeable offense if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so. And I asked over and over and over again, and they gave me everybody else's nominations except for this congressperson's, this candidate's. And I was like, I think my whole thing is I got into politics, one, because my kids left Colorado after they graduated from high school, went to college in different states, because there was no good opportunities here for them. Mm-hmm. Right. And then I do my research. I ask the questions, and I don't know everything. That's why I do the research and ask the questions. But I'm there, and I'm going to stay here. And you know,
So
I
so
know,
why
and
did
I
this
will tell
so
you
why
that
did this cause so why did this cause so many issues? So you're telling me that, okay, so there's people who were running for office that were using personal devices to tally
Mhm.
votes and call in meetings. There wasn't proper credentialing for the members present. Not
Right.
all votes were able to be counted, and it was assumed that these people were non-votes, which I would argue is not necessarily accurate. And on top of that, you had other representatives, whether it was state senators, state representatives, or members of Congress that were attending this meeting that are not representatives in Colorado District 3, influencing votes and handing out papers in order to tell people how to vote. Why were other representatives from other districts outside of District 3 able to influence or even talk at these meetings? Like that doesn't make any sense to me, because if CD3 is electing its members, they should be allowed to elect who they want for the people of CD3, not any other district.
I don't know if anybody was handing out papers, but I know that we had Lauren Boebert speaking and other people who Lauren left CD3. She's no longer part of us.
Yeah,
She
she's the
took quite
she's the congresswoman for CD4. I'm confused about why she's in CD3.
I don't know. I don't know.
That's
I know that her
interesting.
and Christy Ruckus are pretty tight. They communicate a lot.
I mean, that's nice. You can have
There's a lot of
friends, but when you're doing an election for, hundreds of thousands of people in a specific county, it shouldn't come down to what two people want to do and how they want to orchestrate that meeting. I think that's unethical and immoral.
exactly. I do too. And I've seen a lot of unethical things happening here in Pueblo County. And I don't think that our RNC committee person should be running Pueblo County Republican Party meetings. I think that's up to Michelle Gray, and she should be doing the majority of it. But Christy
Sure.
gets up every time and takes over. There is just something that's not right. I mean, it's not ethical. She's not doing her committee person duties correctly. She's overstepping her bounds many times. And
So what do you mean by that?
There's a lot of
What do you mean by that when you say that the National Committee chairwoman is not doing her duties correctly? What do you mean by that?
well, it's not her responsibility to be running a Pueblo County Republican Party meeting.
Is she an
That's
elected
Michelle Gray's
official is she an
Oh,
elected official for Pueblo County?
not anymore. No.
So then why is she involved in the but was she running for a position in Pueblo County?
No.
Okay, wait. So the National
I
Committee
don't
chairwoman is not running for a position in Pueblo County. She's not an elected officer of Pueblo
no.
County, but she's running the meeting in Pueblo County.
She was a former bonus member, but she's running the meeting.
That also doesn't make any sense. I've never seen a meeting not run by the chairman and vice chairman of that respective district / county or whatever it is.
Right.
Interesting.
That's the way
Okay.
that's the way it's here. And it is very interesting. A lot of us don't go to a lot of the CRP meetings because we're very uncomfortable in that group, because we are made to feel uncomfortable. And I go when I have to vote and when certain things are going on. But it's a very uncomfortable atmosphere to be in. They've created that way. And
Well, and it shouldn't be that way. If you're a Republican in the state of Colorado and you are here to elect new representatives, or you're here to change out people that you want representing you, but you keep seeing the same people for the last 10, 20, 30 years doing the same thing over and over again. And for example, I'll also share some insight to some other county meetings I've gone to. Nobody knows about these meetings. They're only given out to so-called voting members or not members of the public or any registered Republican in that county or district. They are not privy to these meetings. It's some as I like to say, it's some 6:30 a.m. pancake breakfast that no one can go to because people like me actually have to go to work still at 6:30 in the morning on a Wednesday. And then all of a sudden there's these people working in the back corners that are raising my taxes and making decisions that I don't even know about. And next thing I know, PCPs are being kept out of elections, or, this policy passed, or this bylaw was influenced. But I never had a say in that as a represented constituent. And then what I see, especially some of these proxy votes and stuff too, is that some of these members can't go to the meeting because they were told like last minute, oh, hey, it's at 5 p.m. on a Thursday. Well, I'm at work, or I have to take my kid to soccer practice or whatever else. Like, there's no consensus on making sure that these meetings are effective in order so that you can get the max amount of participation as possible. And then I know the state committee or whatever, they came up with this policy that, hey, we can use Zoom meetings for whatever, but not everyone, one, has a Zoom account, or two, doesn't even know how to use Zoom. I mean, what I heard about this meeting from Carol Riggenbach was that, there was some more elderly people who didn't know how to use the technology. They didn't know how to raise their hand. They didn't know how to vote. They lived in a remote mountain area. They probably don't have Starlink, and they're getting kicked out of the meeting. So then they're not able to vote or hear people speak. But magically, these people that are orchestrating this meeting are tallying votes and making decisions on personal cell phones and personal computers that are technically not secure when it comes to election integrity standards. Am I wrong on any of that?
No, you are not wrong at all. Not at all. You are correct. The technology shouldn't have been used the way it should have. If they wanted it to be Zoom, they should have made sure every voting member had the correct technology and the correct internet.
Yeah, or show up in person and make. They're blaming it on. How do you blame it on state party? It's your own district meeting.
That the state party should have had a venue for them to be doing this in, but from what I understand, state party didn't even know it was going to happen right away, because they kind of just planned it. So now they're blaming the state party, which they should have been better. It should have been better planned for. They should have done better. They could have done the redistricting or reorg this Saturday as a CD3, could have met together then and did it. But they are saying it's the county's fault. I mean, the state's fault.
Okay, well, to be fair, this doesn't make any sense to me, because every other meeting I've been to, even in Weld County, when I went to that one twice, the biggest argument that a lot of these people were making was that we don't want the state telling us what to do. We're about local control. And as a county or a district, we should be able to make our own decisions, run our own meetings, and not have any interference of the state chairman for the people that disagree with the current state chairman and their administration. Okay, fine. But now, the way this meeting was run, the hubbub that went on, I would say the massive election likely fraud that was occurring between a very small group of individuals, they're now trying to blame the failure of that meeting on the state party that they claim they don't want to be involved in their business, and it's their fault now. Is that correct?
That is correct.
That makes no sense.
That is.
So it's like, oh, we want local control. Oh, no, we want the state control. Oh, no, we want local control. Oh, no, and now it's everybody else's fault except ours. Like, what? Like, take some accountability. If you're an elected officer, if you're a constituent, like, this is your responsibility to hold these people accountable.
Right.
So what happened
as
the result? So what happened at the result of this meeting, Janet? You talked about the people that were running the meeting. Okay, can I verify that? No, that's a firsthand account by someone I don't know. Are you telling the truth? You could be. Could you be lying to me? Sure. I'm just trying to be as fair and as transparent as possible, right? Just like, could Carol be lying? Sure. I mean, I had Michelle Gray, who I've only met once in D.C. when we were doing a tour of the Capitol with Representative Jeff Crank. She said, well, did you read the controversy? I was like, yep. And then she's like, well, did you read the reply? I said, yep. I asked people to read those things. And I sat there and said, there's a lot of concerns I see on both sides. But then she said, well, I'm like, you're more than welcome to come on the podcast and discuss your side of the story. I'd be very interested. I'm open to interviewing anyone running for any office or anything. I think the biggest problem we have in the state of Colorado right now is that there is not a universal voice on the conservative side who's willing to get all this information out to everybody around the state. I mean, I can do it. I do professional podcasting. This is what I do on the national side. Great. I mean, I've just offered my platform to local politics because no one here even knows how to use Facebook, apparently. And then we have like 20 different groups on Facebook fighting each other, and it's ridiculous. There's no centralized area of information, right? But I offered that. I'm like, hey, you can come on the podcast. You could discuss what's going on. I have no problem hearing your side of the story, and you guys can hash it out. That's great. I'm giving an equal opportunity to everybody. And then it was, well, we're going to wait for the committee to make a decision before we speak on that. I sat there and just went, yeah, but don't you think that the constituents of CD3 have a right to know the information on both sides so they can make a decision about who they want to elect to represent them moving forward based upon what happened? I think that's fair. I don't see that happening. I see, once again, a very small group of people of about 20 or less behind the curtain are now going to decide what happens for the rest of the registered Republicans in CD3 or any other district for that matter. And the people that live in CD3 who don't have time to go to these meetings, who are not PCPs or district captains or anything else, they don't know what's going on because they have no stake in the fight about what's actually occurring at these meetings. Like, we have secret ballots. We don't tell anyone what's going on. You can't see my cell phone. I have a crumpled up piece of paper. I have an Excel spreadsheet that I accidentally deleted. I can't record a Zoom meeting. But you're supposed to represent all conservatives for conservative politics in my district. That doesn't make any sense to me.
I agree. I think they have a set of, I am the chair and you are this. So I'm more important than you.
No.
I'm a PC for precinct 214 out here in Pueblo West, and we meet as a precinct quite often. And we talk, and they're all gentlemen, and they will not go to the PCRP meetings. I tell them, you need to go and you need to let them know how you feel. And they say they don't feel comfortable. I really do think they have a ranking order there. And I'm just a precinct chair for 214. That's it.
Okay. I don't agree with any of that whatsoever, because in the military, leadership is the art of influencing and directing people in a way that will obtain their willing obedience, confidence, respect, and loyal cooperation in achieving a common objective. And when you're given rank, such as whether you're an NCO, a sergeant, whether you're an officer, as a captain, a battalion commander, whatever else, as you move up that ladder, you have a great responsibility to the people below you, because you are nothing without your junior enlisted. And let's just relate this to the state, politics, whatever. You are nothing without your PCPs. You are nothing without your district captains. And no offense, your rank means nothing. It's like horseshoes and hand grenades. We're just making this up. What I think is really funny is I see people walk in all these meetings with their fancy little name tags they got probably made on Amazon that say like, oh, I'm the precinct committee person, district captain, blah, blah, blah. Like, do you want to rank with that? Like, do you got like a little shiny ribbon we're supposed to give to you after that? Like, do you want an award? Like, did you not get enough gold stars on the wall when you were a child or something for not hitting the toilet seat when you were peeing? Like, I'm confused. I don't care about your rank and file. I don't care about your titles. I don't care about the letters you have after your name. Like, one of the people running for state chair, he was on a news interview and he's like, I have 3 degrees and a master's degree and I'm the most educated person running for this position. And I sat there and went, okay, what does that have anything to do with you leading the Republican Party moving forward? Because I know plenty of people without any education, such as my lower enlisted in my unit, that are Google engineers and know more than any other commissioned officer in that sector, right? So I don't care about the rank and file. I don't care about what your position is. I don't have to call you the honorable. Like this isn't like President Trump. This isn't the Secretary of Defense. You're a dude that lives in the middle of Colorado that's just supposed to represent the few hundred people that you're responsible for. Like, your rank means nothing and you don't have any rank to begin with.
Right. I agree. And, I have degrees too, but there's a lot I don't know, and I don't profess to know. I know what I have to do for my job and take care of myself. But there is definitely a rank order here. And like you said earlier, we do have the same people running over and over and over and over. They've been going around saying Colorado Pueblo has turned red. That is not true. That is not true. When you work amongst the people of Pueblo here, it's blue. I work in the county building and it's blue. And we have people with the R behind their name who think liberally or doing things that a Republican wouldn't do. So Michelle and Ruckus going around Colorado saying we're red, we're not. They're not amongst the voters. They're not amongst the people. They need to be out amongst the people and see what is really going on in this community. They don't know. They don't know. I'm in people's homes. I'm evaluating them. I know what I can't even wear a red shirt at At work, sometimes they're like, "What, are you going to a Republican thing?" I'm like, "No, I'm wearing a red shirt." Seriously, it's bad. It's blue here. It's blue as it can be. Our mayor is getting ready to be. They're trying. Things like, taxes on groceries. We don't have the red mentality, the Republican mentality here.
Well, that's interesting. So, like,
sorry,
I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
That's okay. I'm just saying that they're going around the state telling people that they're the ones who single-handedly turned this county red, and that is not true. Our law enforcement are Democrats. We have a new county commissioner who's a Democrat, and we have two great Republican county commissioners. Yes, our DA is a Republican, but majority of our elected officials here are Democrat. And I work in the same building as the election office. She's the lady who runs the election is Democrat. Our treasurer is Democrat. Our county clerk, yeah, they're Democrat, and we're not red, and we're not going to fight this county. And Pueblo needs a lot of help by them sitting around patting themselves on the back and not going out within the community and taking care of these voters. They're not doing that. Yeah. They have a little group, and they have a potluck before the PCRP meeting. When I do go, only badge I have on is my work badge that I just got off of work, and I'm running over there. It's just, it's the reality's not there. And I think they're hurting Pueblo County more than helping Pueblo County. And if you know anything about this city, which I was born and raised in, we need real help, real communication with our conservative voters, and we don't have that. And when people aren't even comfortable going to those meetings or to their events, it's interesting. But yeah,
but if you're a registered Republican. If you're a registered Republican in Pueblo County, you shouldn't feel afraid to go to your own meetings where your representative is supposed to be representing you. You shouldn't be being discouraged from showing up and representing your family. And this is like the J.D. Vance argument. One of the reasons, like, I'm the national vice chairman for the American Veterans First Association, and one of our objective is we find younger guys and women, especially veterans who fought in the global war on terror, to start primarying and replacing people in contentious districts. Because, you sent us, thank you for, being in the Republican Party for 20, 30 years, but you sent us to war for 20 years and killed a bunch of my friends. And with all due respect, I don't think your policy making is effective. And especially if I'm trying to raise my kids and my family, I don't feel like sending them to Ukraine or Gaza to go die. Right. And I think we have better ideas, and most of us are in our 30s and 40s. So I think we know what's going on as much as you want. And, one of the other big jokes we say in the military community is like, if you can't run a mile, you shouldn't be running for office. And that applies to a lot of people in this state, and what concerns me the most is that, you're out there, you're on the ground, apparently, you're interviewing people, you're talking to the people, the actual constituents, the farmers, the ranchers, the industrial people, the blue collar workers down there. But you're telling me you have a bunch of Democrats, basically, who have Democratic ideology that are claiming that the county's red. I've seen the same thing in Weld County as well. My personal perspective, I was interviewing other candidates and trying to vet them to help them through their voting process during the elections over the last year. I had people who were running for office tell me that they couldn't take a stand on abortion because if they did, they would lose Democratic votes. And I'm sorry, but the RNC charter is pretty clear about Second Amendment and pro-life stance. And if you can't do that, the most basic arguments in the Republican Party, I don't necessarily think you're an actual Republican. You probably should register as an independent if that's how you feel, and that's fine. You're an American. You can do whatever you want. It's a free country. That's what we raised our right hand to defend the Constitution against, all enemies, foreign and domestic. But what I've seen, especially since I've deployed overseas, I've seen what actual enemy combatants are, is that I swore to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, but I will tell you that I have fought more domestic enemies than I've ever fought on foreign soil against an actual adversary of the United States. The only difference is I can't call in a drone strike on American citizens. It's kind of frowned upon. So.
Yeah, yeah, I do agree. We need a lot more younger politicians. We do have a younger Republican city councilman named Brett Boston. He's awesome. We do need younger people. We need to get new blood, new ideas. They're the future. I mean,
Yes.
I retired in 7 years. We need people who are going to get these young people out there. We need young Republicans on the college campus and on in the high schools. We need to teach these kids correctly, and the older people aren't doing that. They're not even making the effort of doing that because a lot of them think, "Well, I've been there so long, I know what I'm doing." Well, you know what? We need to give these younger people a chance and let them learn, because I'm retiring soon, and
Well, but here's the
I don't
thing
know
though.
what they're.
The biggest argument I hear from a lot of the people that you've mentioned throughout this podcast is, oh, we need to bring in more, voters. Colorado is a purple state. We're not red. I mean, true, we'd like to turn it red. That's the objective. But when their objective is to go from blue to purple, no, your objective should be America first, Agenda 47 values. I am confident that if I'm elected, I can push to red conservative values. I understand there's compromise in certain bills. I understand that there has to be working across the aisle on certain issues. But under Trump's presidency, if we are allowing Republicans to be elected that can't abide by the simple things such as pro-life, Second Amendment, things like that, then maybe you should take a seat and take a back seat to what's going on, because we need actual people to be motivated to bring in more young conservative voters. Because like I said, I talk to a lot of the younger guys, like that's my generation, right? And they're like, I don't have time to go to these meetings, Adam, because every time I go, it's just a bunch of old people fighting. Nothing gets done. They're making arguments to adjourn a meeting when I have to go to work tomorrow at 4:30 in the morning, because I got to pay these people taxes because they want to raise my taxes because they don't actually want to fight for the conservative values when they claim like, oh, we're pro-military, we're pro-oil and gas, we're pro this, and then they go to the state legislature and nothing happens. I mean, they're fighting over should we get rid of mountain lions? Should we bring back more wolves? Should I put $20,000 fine day stickers on gasoline pumps to run out oil and gas by, like Representative Jennifer Bacon? I don't know what you people are doing over there, but she needs to leave, right? And then the infighting caused by these people completely disassociates the younger Republican base coming, because we're very decisive people. I mean, we lived through the 2008 financial crisis. We lived through COVID. Most of us were born in the 80s and the 90s. We've been through our fair share of crises, 9/11, whole nine yards, went to go fight the war for these people. And then we come into these meetings and it's like the most basic decisions can't be made. Should we raise taxes? Should be no. No, let's talk about it. Like, for example, there was a federal tax, exemption up here where it was like, well, we're going to do a food tax in Greeley for 10 years. And then as long as we reach like whatever, $100 million, and the federal government will come and give us another $100 million, and we'll be able to fix Highway 34 of these dangerous intersections. Well, what I found out is that most of that money got put into a slush fund over 10 years. They wasted all that money on useless projects like parks and LGBTQ art, apparently. And then 10 years later, when that tax was supposed to sunset and lower my taxes, they said, we would like to extend this tax in perpetuity. We're not raising your taxes. We're just going to keep taxes the same. And it's like, no, what are you doing? Oh, well, we wasted all that money from that tax raising. We never fixed the roads, but we should just keep raising your taxes and running out oil and gas out of this county. And now we need to bring in other assets to do that. We went from $2.7 million in tax revenue in oil and gas in Weld County 2 years ago to $119,000 last year. And now they're saying, well, we don't have the oil and gas companies. We lost all these jobs. We lost all these companies, but we're all pro oil and gas. What are you talking about? No, you're not. Because if you were, you'd be fighting for these companies and bringing them back in and bringing these jobs and signing off permits. But I don't see it. So if you're going to be an elected official and you're trying to bring more younger people in to run for office that are actually working those jobs that you're getting rid of, I demand that you actually do as you say when you're on the election campaign.
Right. They do. You're right. My kids were all born in the 90s, and they're very conservative Republicans in the state they live in. And we need to get them involved. Our current Republican mayor is wanting to raise grocery taxes, put taxes on groceries. And our PCRP is supporting her. So by supporting her, you're supporting that tax. You need to speak up against that. You need to get people involved. But you are right. it's hard for the younger people to get to those meetings, and because you hit it right on the nose, those older people are arguing over things that don't even matter to them anymore. They're not working. They're not out in the, we're not getting candidates. We do have some good, DA and a good county commissioners, 2 of them, but we're not getting what we need in Pueblo County. And we have, I live in Pueblo West, which is a conservative area of the county. And there are so many people here who would love to run for office. And they should, because of the PCR. I know. And they're young families with young children, or I have a couple guys who are flight trainers for the Air Force who live out here, who would love.
That's where our flight training center is for the Air Force Academy. Yeah, that's where our flight training center is for the Air Force Academy. It's where everyone who's going to UPT goes down there, right? We got young families, we got good economics, we got money flowing into the area. We should be encouraging these people to participate. And like what drives me absolutely crazy is that there's so much opportunity, but these people are so disenfranchised and don't want to participate. And then they're pushed out by these people who are obsessed with Ronald Reagan. Look, hey, Ronald Reagan was all right, but he had a lot of problems, and people don't want to look at that. Just like people don't want to acknowledge what's going on in Ukraine or what's going on in Gaza. I will tell you as an intel guy, there's a lot more going on than you know. I was over there when that stuff was happening, so maybe you should sit down and shut up, right? Like, so you're trying to bring in more younger people. You saw this meeting go completely haywire. What happened at the end of the meeting? Who got elected? What was the end result of this? Like, how did that all finalize in the end?
All I know is that I think it's Ellen Mays won as chair. Christy run as vice chair. And then Carol and her crew, we all kind of left. It was ridiculous. It was, they weren't trying to fix anything that was going wrong. They just wanted to conclude the meeting and say they were right.
So they just accepted the results as valid. So they just accepted the results as valid that elected these people?
Yes.
That's not how that works.
They did.
I don't.
No.
I wish I wasn't laughing at this, but it's like, that's absolutely ridiculous.
I don't even know why I was there, because as a poll watcher, and I don't think that they were happy when I walked in, because they're like, what are you doing here? I said, I'm poll watching for Carol Rickenbach. And I don't know what a poll watcher is supposed to do, but I think I'm supposed to know what's going on. Not exactly who's voting, but the count, where it's at, what's going on. I wasn't allowed to see that. Nothing.
So another interesting thing I saw some things going around on some of the various Facebook groups saying like, oh no, another controversy's been filed. I guess this is what happens when you lose, you file controversies. But from what I understand, according to Robert's Rules of Order, the bylaws of, the independent counties or districts, and at least by state law, I think there is a legitimate argument that the controversy that was filed against CD3 was valid, and then that meeting should be redone and restructured legally, with transparency, with voter integrity. Does that sound about right? Do you think that is the right course of action?
That is the right course of action. That's what should happen. Every vote needs to be counted. Every person needs to be properly credentialed in. We need to know who's voting and what's going on, and we did not know that.
I don't think it gets any simpler than that.
We had the Robert's Rule of Order right in front of us. I've read that, and I know how it's supposed to work, but I didn't want to say a lot. I was watching, because I don't think I was there to put my opinion, and I just wanted to see how they ran it, and I did. And there was conversations. There was about 3 of us over by the bathroom over there, and they were saying there is no way that these counts can be proven the way they are doing them.
I would agree, even from an outside perspective. I wasn't even there, and I would tell you that there's no way I would legitimately say that these votes could be counted with integrity.
Right, and one of them told them, he's a bonus member, told them you should not be doing it this way. Yeah.
No, for sure, I agree. So yeah. So what it sounds like is that a controversy has been filed The state executive committee is going to make a decision, whatever that comes out to be. It sounds like the meeting is going to have to be redone, and unfortunately, it's likely not going to be completed before Saturday, which is the big giant election for the state, which is probably the most important thing going on in the state right now. And I'm in full support of ethical conduct at these meetings. I am very tired of watching these meetings constantly get filed controversies, unethical, immoral things happening between the same group of, like, I would say about 20 people. These same 20 people over the last year I've observed have been involved in nearly every single meeting getting their hands in on stuff. I don't understand it. And you're saying that you represent these 20 people who are influencing these elections, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. That represent over 680,000 registered Republicans in the state. It's run by the same people. I mean, by definition, that's called a cabal, right? A corrupt small government organization that is influencing things to appease their own personal desires and comforts. And I can't agree with that. And I don't even know these people, to be honest. Like, and this goes for anything. I don't care about the personalities. I don't care about the individuals. I don't care about whatever, Christy Fedora, Barb, whatever. I don't care about any of these people. I would say the same exact thing for any single person doing the same exact conduct, to be 100% clear and transparent on that. I demand that these things are done ethically and morally, and that we have a Republican Party that can win moving forward to replace these Democratic policies and these communists coming out of California. Because if we can't do it, then we just have a bunch of our own communists and socialists within our own party.
I agree. I agree that we need to put aside the personal agendas and start working for the people, the Republican people of Colorado. We cannot have another Democrat governor. And whether Republicans are acting this way, we're going to end up with one. And we can't that. Colorado's going to be a scary place. Pueblo is scary. It is scary. I live in Pueblo West, so I feel a little bit more safer. But we need to get Republicans making laws. We need to get Republicans in offices in Denver, because it's affecting us in our cities and in our counties, what they're doing in Denver. And these little groups, or the coup, or whoever they are, I'm not part of any of that. But I see it enough to know that it is just, it's just disheartening what they're doing to our state. We're supposed to make this a better state. I just don't know why they think this is okay. Like, I'm better than you, so I want my way, not your way. I don't know what it is, but it's really childish, a lot of it. And we're not helping Colorado. We're not helping us at all.
No, it's
very
dumb and
frustrating.
Stupid. And what aggravates me more too is that, like, I know Pueblo, for example, like, they had to sell off a lot of their water rights, and now they're pumping that water back up to Colorado Springs, which now Colorado Springs Public Utilities owns 51% of the water rights up there. So they're drying up Pueblo. That's affecting agricultural land. That's affecting the farmers and ranchers that have owned that property for over 100 years. Now we're worried about food insecurity. We're worried about our actual ranching supply, right? So you want to talk about, oh, we're doing this for, like, personal whatever. We need to resupply this. When we can't get the building codes corrected, we can't get a good water supply. We can't divert more water from Grand Junction. Now we're drying up our farmers' fields. We're selling off land to development like BlackRock. Like, you are creating this snowball cascading effect that is actually damaging who we are as Coloradans. And there is absolutely no way that you're telling me that these representatives who are so self-interested, and self-pompous, are actually defending the farmers, the ranchers, the oil and gas workers, the blue-collar workers, the people that put them into office, because it's controlled by such a small group of people.
I agree. I mean, I thought that Lauren Boebert, when she was in, she's talking about water. We have Jeff Hurd talking about water. Yet we're not getting anything out here. I know the farmers,
you're losing your water. You're literally losing your water.
Losing it. We are losing it, and they keep talking water. Well, where's Pueblo's water? Where's Pueblo? Because everybody talk about the Western Slope. Where's Pueblo? I mean, we have a lot of farms that make a lot of money and do a lot of things here, and they're being left behind. And our local leadership should be helping.
No, I agree. And here's the funny thing is like I'm actually an industrial wastewater engineer. That's what I do at the Denver refinery. Like by trade, this is what I've done in oil and gas for the last like 6 years, right? When I got off the drilling rigs and everything after Biden collapsed all our drilling out in West Texas, right? So when I was doing a water analysis down there, so I'm an officer in civil affairs. This is what I do by trade on foreign influencing campaigns in Indo-PACOM. But we actually toured the water treatment and drinking water facilities in Colorado Springs and Pueblo. And what we realized is they're still using 1960s technology to remove the contaminants. They have no way of removing fentanyl. They have no way of removing PFAS. They don't do any of these things. They rely on alum as a basic flocculant to remove contaminants out of the water. You could have a terrorist, you could have a bunch of dead bodies in there, and that actually will poison the water, and they can't clean it as well. That's why there's such protected facilities. When the fire went on down there a couple of years ago, they actually had to shut the inlets off to where they were pulling the water from the reservoirs off the top of the mountains there because there was too much ash and contaminants in the drinking water, and Colorado Springs and Pueblo didn't have enough clean drinking water during the fires because these things cannot be mitigated. And Grand Junction, unfortunately, gets most of the water out there, but they don't want to divert any more water because California takes it. And you have the other side argument about Nebraska and everything else. So these representatives, they want to come in and talk about water rights and all these other things, but I don't see them actually doing anything about it because I've actually toured these facilities. I've been there. I work in the industry, and it's completely ineffective, and it's an embarrassment to our state.
I agree. I just, you're going to talk the talk, walk the walk. I know it's... you got to do it. Just quit talking about it and actually do it. Get people behind you. Get people who want to help behind you. And they're not doing that. I mean, when you have Congress people making efforts to side with one group instead of the whole state, and not doing what they need to do to help every community in Colorado that they are in charge of. And CD3 is huge, and we need
it's literally the largest district in the state.
Right, and Pueblo, it needs to stop being ignored. And they may say they're not ignoring, but they are ignoring us. My kids came in to visit me about a month ago, and they said, "Mom, we haven't been here in so long," because usually I go visit them. Mm-hmm. This town is undeveloped and just run down. We need to get officials who's going to take care of our city. I was here. I was a little girl when the steel mill was booming. This town was beautiful, well kept, and just moving. And now it is just nothing. It is not taken care of. It doesn't look good. There's no new development. There's nothing here. Pueblo's very important to me. I should move where my kids are, but none of them are close enough to know which one to move next to. And they live in conservative states, and you can definitely tell the difference between their states and here. I feel the difference being in a conservative state than I do here. And
right, and we're not. And another interesting point to that is that because a lot of the industry has had to leave Pueblo, I mean, you have a small National Guard contingent down there. I was actually assigned to them during my deployment out to the Middle East, the HIMARS unit down there. And we could hear gunshots in the middle of the night towards the armory down there, which is nuts. And it's also haunted from Vietnam. People don't know that. Don't stand there at night, as I learned my hard lesson there. But another interesting thing about Pueblo is that there's also run by the Italian mob. And I know that for a fact because I had ATF agents that I deployed with who are dealing with the Italian mob down there, who apparently run a suit store on a street that has never filed taxes in 20 years and no one shows up to. But magically they're filing like $2 to $3 to $4 million in revenue a year, but they have a broken cash register, a half-broken sign, and something that says Arrivederci on the door or something like that, right? So, and you know how this works, like the Italian mob, when they start influencing things, like they're going to start running elections, they're going to start paying off city officials because that's how they're going to get things done. I know this is happening because I literally know the ATF and DEA agents that have been fighting the cartels and they've been fighting the Italian mob in Pueblo. And the reason why those crime-stricken organizations have been able to infiltrate Pueblo is because we have cowards that are representatives in the city of Pueblo that won't do anything because they're getting funded by their campaigns by these organizations and they're just getting paid off, right? And I'll be 100% honest. Like, I know Jeff Hurd. I talked with him personally in Washington, D.C. I hope he's going to be my biggest advocate for the Dorito Act, which is something I've been trying to pass against the Air Force Academy to make it illegal to falsify mental health records in retaliation for reporting sexual assault and harassment, right? But like I said, we'll wait to see what he does, right? He's good at what he does. I respect him as a congressman, but like I said, I will wait to see what you do. And if you don't do what you were elected to do, then maybe we need to consider somebody else in that position moving forward. And I would hope that every single elected representative who is elected as a Republican in the state of Colorado does what they said they were going to campaign on, because it's an embarrassment that I have to see the Italian mob, the cartels, human trafficking, drug, fentanyl overdoses, completely overrunning Pueblo when it's the largest part of the largest district in the state of Colorado. And then its own constituents are embarrassed and afraid to even participate because it's being controlled by such a small group of people that can't even count election things on their own personal computers and cell phones, which is also completely illegal.
Right. You're exactly right. And that's why they need to get out in the community more. They need to have meetings at the public library. They need to be amongst the people, and they're not. And I think Jeff Hurd is our congressman, and he's the one who should be doing things here. No other congressman should be even involved.
100%.
He needs to be his own person, his own district, and not letting anybody else influence him. Only ones who should be influencing him are the constituents of Colorado, and not just Republican, but Democrat.
That's the way it's supposed to work. And yes, you are responsible for representing the Democrats as well. That's fine. I mean, you were elected, so let's see you do your job. I hope he holds some town halls. I hope he listens to this podcast and really understands maybe the inside stuff that's going on in his district he may not be aware of, because I know he's super busy in DC trying to take care of Trump's agenda and get that implemented, right? So I really want to thank you for coming on this podcast and really giving an insider view of what's going on in Pueblo. I think it's so important. I really hope that more people that listen to this podcast in the state of Colorado, from whatever district you're in or whatever county you're in, please reach out to me. Let's have these discussions, because I think our representatives aren't hearing the voices of its constituents. And I want to help be that voice in order to help people have these discussions, because instead of watching like the same 20 people and like Better Betsy Freedom, whoever else is running these Facebook groups, arbitrarily fight and cause all this division with really bad memes. Also, if you need to know how to make memes, reach out to me. I can provide consulting on that. I'm really good with these things. Let's upgrade that communication. Let's have more transparency. Let's get more Coloradans involved. Let's make Republicans feel empowered, that they have an effect on their communities, that they can actually be effective members of the state of Colorado. Because if we can't heal ourselves, if we can't work together to protect our farmers, ranchers, oil and gas workers, and everything else that's important to us, the next thing I know is that I'm going to have a gay, non-AR, gun-approved, transgender, LGBTQ, and a Batman symbol library with fentanyl, distribution centers in Denver, and that's what I'm going to have to raise my kids in, and I just can't do it anymore. I just can't agree with that.
No, I agree with you. I totally agree. I'm very thankful that my kids are raising their children in conservative states, and I can always travel there. But I have always felt I need to stay here right now. I don't know why, but I will.
Someone has to stand guard.
I'm standing guard. I'm out there with this community. I'm out there with the children and the elderly. I am out there. I'm in their homes. I'm an everyday citizen who has to shop and pay your bills and work, and no one helps me do that but me. So I know, I see it. Observation is huge. Just watching people. We need to get more people involved in. Mm-hmm.
Well, okay,
Thank
so
you,
everyone
Adam.
out there in CD3, let's get out there. Let's get this reorganization meeting done. Let's get some more voters involved. Let's actually elect people we want to represent us, not the status quo, not the people that have always been there for the last 20 years. Janet, do you have any closing thoughts for the people of CD3 before we close out here?
I think we need to remember right now that this coup or this fighting needs to stop. It needs to stop. This is childish. I feel like I'm in middle school, and I used to be a middle school counselor, and I feel like dealing with those kids again. It's not going to help us. It's not going to help you, and our state needs better. Our state needs better. We need to come together as a group and be honest and work together. and not push people out. I don't even know, but all I know is that we need to come together more. And this infighting's ridiculous, and it needs to stop. I mean, we're our own worst enemies.
I agree.
I mean, my family, it's important to me.
Yeah, family first, America first values. I couldn't agree more. Janet, I want to thank you so much for coming on this podcast today. I hope a lot of people who are getting ready to go to the state reorg meeting meet Steve Bannon, fight the Antifa nerds outside. You know, we need to stand up for our Republican values. I hope you all get to go to that Steve Bannon gala. You know, go elect the people that you want to represent you. This has been Adam Dorito and Janet Hidalgo on the Tuxes and Tomahawks podcast, and we will see you guys this weekend at the event. Thanks for tuning in.